Rite of Passage is back and it is better than ever. Starting February 16th this year, you'll get to enter to try and get your chance to make XGS. With just a $50 entry fee, you get direct invite to our round robin stage where it is best of threes for every game, making sure every single chance, every game, every round has the most meaning possible. The best teams in the round robin group stage will make it on to our single elimination playoffs, where they can fight for not only a chance for the lion's share of a $1,000 plus grand prize, but also a chance, a direct invite to the next season of XGS. Signups close February 13th, just 3 days before the event actually starts, so make sure you gather your teammates, friends, and sign up, because this is your chance to make a name in the scene. Are you ready? Find out here.
Yeah, it has been a sec. I'm feeling totally fine. Ready to get into some XGS Season 8 because, this is the last full week that we have for the main stage, or for the group stages at least, until we have to go to playoffs. Yeah, I can hear you. Okay, so it looks like we're having some difficulties, or technical difficulties in the... Yeah, and...
What is going?
Some really bad technical difficulties on cards, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry, it's taking me off guard. But let's look at the standings for XGS Season 8. If you guys don't know, or if you haven't been watching for a little bit, we moved to a 17 league originally after NDK was disqualified for reasons, and then more recently we become a 16 league with LFO or Orglis / X-Alix bowing out of XGS Season 8 for roster reasons, I will say that. So now we are a 16 league. That means that for the time being, every team so far in XGS Season 8, they're going to be automatically qualified to playoffs. You get a bye in the first round, and if you're in the top 2. So really the only thing that teams are playing for in XGS Season 8 group stages is mainly for seeding, to see if they could eventually maybe pop up into that first or second place. But at the moment, BallSac Nation, which is JJ's team, is clearly in the lead. They're undefeated currently. They have the best round diff. They won all of their games in regulation, so it looks totally flawless for them. They may just take it with the first place off of rip in the group stage section.
I'm back, I think. I think we're officially good. Excuse the technical difficulties. Thank you for the pickup there, Chaka. I mean, it's certainly a way to start off our games, but you know what? Let's have a little bit of parity now. Let's prefer it not in the middle of our games, but it should still be an exciting first one, despite maybe some interesting starts to go on. But BallSac Nation versus Unity, I mean, we've cast them before. We love Vic Bands and the crew. It feels like they're always a fun watch, and you can never complain about JJ and Blatz. You never know what he's going to do. He might run out on you. He might do a TK rush. And honestly, he can still probably win.
Yeah, I mean, BallSac Nation have clearly shown that they are the better team so far this year. This is a mixed bag of players from various different areas of experience. Like, you have like some T2 experience on this team with
there you go. We at least know what's going on here. We have a JJ Blatz, Snake, Satex, Hypers, and Rival. I mean, you know most of the players at this point. It's not really, I think, a roster that needs any introduction. We know the players, we know what they can do, and more importantly, we know that they're very, 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 very good. If they're going to TK each other for 5 subs, I have no comment. But you know what? We at least know what we're going to see from them. You're going to see that great gameplay. You're going to see that high-level plays, and maybe a crazy rush once or twice. But you know what? At the end of the day, it is what you love. It is the crazy roster that'll always entertain you. Is it going to be the most normal game? No. Are you going to see the greatest setups at times? Maybe not. You're absolutely going to be watching with your eyes perfectly on that screen, because you never know what's going to happen when BallSac Nation steps up. Might rush, might play smart, might still win either way.
Yeah, and I think playstyle wise, Unity is a great matchup for them just because they both kind of play like the same style of Siege where it just feels like totally disrespectful and in your face. And both teams kind of have like the individual mechanical ability to match each other. I think this is going to be a solid test for BallSac Nation. But I said that when they played up against like SSG ACAD or even some of the other teams around the league, and it really doesn't seem like it's that much of a test. You have so many varying forms of experience on this BallSac Nation roster, former T2 players like Ions and um Twist, or well, former T1 for Twist, and also Empty to some extent. You have inexperienced players who are kind of looking to like learn the lay of comp from like some of the more experienced T1 players, like your Snakes, your JJ, your Twist, your Rivals. And so yeah, I think this BallSac Nation team is really nice to see that JJ just didn't get former pros or didn't just get T2 or T1 players in the team. He's bringing up inexperienced players as well, and that's kind of been his motto ever since he's been promoted to T1 when he was on that JJ and Co team.
Yeah, I mean, I respect it. I really enjoy the fact that they're, as you mentioned, they're willing to go out and, maybe it can seem like a joke stack at times, but that's a real choice where if they lock in, if there's maybe some newer players, some X guys can find themselves in the right position, they can really start popping off and show maybe they aren't just part of that team. Maybe they are really a good player who just needed that starting chance.
Yeah, and at least for Unity, you also, just like JJ and Co, maybe not you only really have one T1 player on here, which is Hat. They also had, I think at some point, like Kool-Aid subbing in. Now they have Reapers joining back into the team, it seems like. But yeah, you have varying forms of experience within this Unity team. I mean, let's not forget at one point, BGL and Kiru won Element 2 when they were on that MV roster that had like a boatload of young talent, including them just starting out in the T2 scene. And this team, just like JJ and Co, or sorry, BallSac Nation, have like the same disrespectful, aggressive playstyle where if they see a gap, they're gonna disrespect it. If they see a run out opportunity, they're gonna instantly do it. They are a very in-your-face aggressive team, and they have more than enough quality in the individual pieces to have that sort of play style. And that's why I think this game is going to be super fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, we watched it before. If you were watching that Card and Co Unity game, it kind of showed, I think, what these teams are built for. It's a lot of the archetypes. It was a really good showing for more accurately what Unity said. Like, as you said, these are two teams that are actively insane at capitalizing and improvising. Both of them have extreme skill ceilings at times. It feels like they can be unstoppable at points. So it's going to be a very, very scary team. And more importantly, it's going to be a very fun map here, I think. We're going to take ourselves to Chalet there. That'll be, in my opinion, one of my more favorite maps. I really do enjoy Chalet. It's default, it's basic. And I will say, this is the one map where Unity somehow find themselves on a 5-1 attacking half. I maybe don't expect that today, but it should at least still be a banger.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I can't really say I'm surprised that BallSac Nation kind of left up Chalet against Unity, because I don't really think they're a team that is going to give much respect to their opponents, especially because they know they're as good, or they know they're much better, probably individually, as much better than these other teams. So they think they can really take them to any map. The only maps that they're not going to really take them on are maps where JJ just doesn't really have a ton of calling experience. So that includes Fortress, Lair, and I also think Consulate too, because Consulate was a permaban for MV. I was more surprised that they didn't really force a Labs pick here, because I think that is also a map that would have favored them in this series, and it also probably would have been better playstyle wise to kind of catch Unity off guard. I think this is a really good balance map for the two, and I think it fits well again into their aggressive in-your-face playstyles.
Yeah, I mean, it has, as you mentioned, that it feels like it's the perfect archetype here. You have your big floors, you have your chances for those big roams. It's going to be a madhouse. I think we're going to see teams all and about. We're going to see shields, your crazy, maybe even a cav play. But I really do think you're going to see pretty much every single play in the book brought out here, where it's just going to be a balls to the wall, no pun intended, as fast as you can, go at them.
Yeah, and it'll be an exciting match to watch. And I'm kind of excited to see what Unity bring out, because of course I wonder if like their playstyle is going to work against JJ, because he's very inexperienced against these type of players, where it's like T2, they're very like aggressive, very what is it, like mechanically strong. They trust in their gun skill a lot, and that's kind of like how JJ likes to run his teams. He likes to run them to not be scared of anything, to not be scared to make plays, to not be scared to be aggressive, to not be scared to do anything. And so I think, like, I wonder how that's going to clash against Unity. I think their Unity are going to more than back themselves up in this game as they will in any other game. They probably think that they could beat JJ and Co, and I wouldn't blame them if they thought so, because XGS Season 8 for Unity has been such a good season for them. And I don't know, I really like the type of Siege I've watched from Unity on like a entertainment level. It's been very entertaining watching Unity play, because they play like any other T2 team, but again, it's like the mechanical ability of some of these players that just make it so exciting to watch, and why they've been so successful.
Yeah, and I actually think that this game is a pretty important one for something happening just a couple of weeks here. I'd argue that JJ and Co would be the hardest, like if there is a benchmark for how hard a team is going to be in Challenger Series quals, they're the peak of it. Obviously, they won't be playing, but I think it shows that there is, if you win this here for Unity, you are absolutely looking like maybe one of the front runners to dominate in those Challenger Series open quals, and more later close. But we have quite a few rounds to determine if they're at that level quite yet, if they can handle the T1 heat, X2, excuse me.
Yeah, now get into the ban phase. So like BallSac Nation, they're starting off on defense. They have the attacker ban, so that means they've banned Blackbeard and Dokkaebi, and I think those are really good bans, especially to counter how Unity like to play. Again, they're a very gap spot heavy team. They like to attack into gaps. They like to also directly attack into sites, even if there are necessarily no gaps. And a Blackbeard is very powerful for helping taking site aggressively, especially if it's something like a dining and kitchen, um, where usually you only really have one player on site. Some teams on the attack, especially tier one teams, or even tier two teams to some extent on Chalet for first floor, they like to directly attack the only site anchor, and then that gives them immediate site control, and they can get a plant down based off of some of the first floor control that they gathered, and also some of the cuts they have around trophy and front door, depending on like where they're planting. So I think these bans are complementary towards BallSac Nation in a sense, and I like how they kind of use that directly against Unity.
Yeah, a bit of a rock, paper, scissors there, as a lot of bans can fall into there. Sometimes it is very tempting to just ban the meta ops. And I think in this case, it's where it aligns. You're going to see those top ops get off the board. But they, once again, as you mentioned, they fit the styles of these teams. They fit what their needs are in this match. It's a really nice push and pull situation. And quickly, I do want to mention, I'm personally a Thorn fan. I've been a Thorn fan since I got her Elite skin right before they released her 1.5. But more importantly, I just feel it's so fun to see an op like her, that trap op that was underused, underutilized for such a long time, get her flowers now. She's really becoming not just a a situational piece. I think she's truly becoming one of the better trappers, and it's gonna be nice to see how someone like a JJ's team can really command that utility in what is, in my opinion, a pretty broken trap right now.
Oh, what?
Oh my god! Okay.
How am I supposed to provide analysis on that? I literally, he just literally got a triple kill with the TCSG. That's not something, JJ does go for aggressive plays like that, but he usually gets like his one or dones. That's not something supposed to happen. So that's really all of your attacking power and all of your utility that can help you take solar. That's it. That's the round. It's over. It's done.
I'm not going to say it's over yet because I've seen some crazy crap, but I will say that is certainly up there. I'm not going to lie. I am vaguely checking his sub count, and it did mysteriously go upwards. So I have an assumption as why he played that. Let's just call it that. But you know what? For the subs, it is. I mean, at this point, if you are as dominant as he is, if you trust yourself that much, at the end of the day, let him ring. If you really do have that trust in yourself, go ahead. And now you're going to need to see miracles form from BJL and Hat. We've seen them win good 2v4s before. In fact, we've seen them win many 2v4s before as a group. But this is certainly going to be a harder one when you have a lot of things you got to do, and losing one more isn't going to help BJL stuck in a pretty precarious situation. And finished off by Snake means BallSac Nation do win their first round off of maybe one of the most ridiculous 3Ks I've seen in a very long time.
Yeah, and like you have to look at like the operators that like JJ specifically took out. He took out Ace, he took out Capital, and he took out Grim. Unity clearly wanted to go for a Solarium take, so that's why I said, "Oh, the round's over," because those are your Solarium take operators. You need the Ace, for example, to take out the mirror window that's in closet that's directly looking at the Solarium window player. You also need Grim as well to help you take the space within Solarium to grim out areas such as the bathroom doorway straight into Solarium. You also need Capital to also flare doorway that leads into bathroom from Solarium, and also to Capital both either the master bedroom closet so that you can get an easy plant down and dining. You just took away so many tools from Unity just from one JJ run out. Somebody not supposed to like that much impact from a Kaid run out with the TCSG. So yeah, like round one, that kind of showcases how like even though it's JJ and he's the IGL, he's also pretty good mechanically. He can shoot back. And so that's been like one of the biggest things for BallSac Nation that's gone right for them for season 8.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, if you can run them down, run them down. I am not hating on the play so much as I'm hating on the fact that we just saw that happen in a game. But honestly, a lot of respect to it. You gotta have nerves of steel and the most absurd confidence maybe in all of XGS right now to run out against a team like Unity, who are known to be go-getters. You have to be so perfect just to even have this all line up. More importantly, I think it shows a level of just pure confidence, as we mentioned. He absolutely trusts himself to win these. If he really needed to, he could absolutely pull it out at any time, which is scary for them, but for us, it leads to some more questionable plays, and nothing quite yet, but all the bodies falling. Your Kiru going to be the one to try to get the plant down. They have literally everything targeted for this, all your chips in one basket, and it seems it'll work here. Your bodies fly, but you keep the plant down, and that's the most important thing here. We're heading into a post plant.
Yeah, but JJ or BallSac Nation have gotten its 5v3s, so that gives them a lot more manpower to go for when it comes to like trading each other out and then potentially denying the plant. JJ finds one in the 4v2, but BGL makes it a 2v2 along with Big Bands grabbing one upstairs.
All the bodies here waiting here. BJL looking for the big play, but it couldn't happen. Now Vic Bands left to try to fix it together. He has one body, but a whole lot of things he must do. All about the perfection, but you find one. Now you can run away, get the DMR, and you might not be able to win them in the pure gunfights. You might not be able to outcall a player like JJ, but you can absolutely pull these, crazy trick plays here, pull these more niche strategies, and that's how you're going to have to win this one here, is you cannot target the default plans. You cannot think, this is how we're going to play any other team. We're just going to play BallSac Nation just like them. You have to think outside the box here, because that's your big way of winning.
Yeah, and is big one in terms of like wasting time on the second floor, because that was technically the win condition, at least for him in the late round. That was really the only way he was going to win it. And because of how low time was for BallSac Nation, you theoretically think that if you have like a little bit more time in a bomb, you could go upstairs together and 2v1 the guy upstairs so that he can't just cover the guy that's defusing. But because the time was so low, that meant that BallSac Nation had to kind of like divert, or divide their divide their task in terms of what one player had to do versus the other. So that meant that one player had to take his one against Big Bands. He wins that one. That's a 50-50 gunfight. And then he has Vert to cover the plant as well. And the person that's trying to defuse in that situation doesn't really have much advantage. He used his last impact nade. He can't really do much else against Big Bands on a Vert. So that was perfect play in 1v2 for Big Bands. Clutch it out for Unity.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have to get inventive. You're really going to have to think outside the box to beat a team strong in the traditional things as BallSac Nation. Name and maybe some parity aside, they truly are a really well-built team. JJ is a really, really good leader when he wants to be. He can absolutely, I think, lead a team like this to a dominant win. So it's going to really have to be, you have to think inventively. You have to find a way to think really just, once again, outside the box. Think outside of what the normality would be, because that's how you beat a team like this.
Yeah, and also just kind of like not being too scared to face them, and oh, that's kind of crazy. Satex gets a good kill, or Satex, I think it is, gets a good kill into Big Bands. That's the Capital gone again early. A bunch of utility gone for Unity.
And two bodies fall. I was waiting for the moment, but Hat said, I'll force it instead. Snake and Satex both go down. Your main roamers, your main people to hold it all down, fall away, and suddenly a game that might have seemed airy at one point, a game that might have seemed like an easy win, maybe there's a beat of sweat of performing on JJ's face here. He's not quite, he's not in the do or die yet. It's still early, but maybe he realizes he can't take a team like this too unserious because they will capitalize. Kiru will capitalize. They'll take those picks. They'll find the ones they need. And while it might not be the prettiest win, they certainly have the chops to do it.
Yeah, and that was a desperate play from Rival inside a bathroom just to see if he could try and like find somebody outside that was holding his window. And so maybe he could get aggressive on Solarium, but JJ does that on his own, gets cut off by BGL, and that leaves JJ actually, sorry, in the 1v3, but he gets cut down by Kiru. Unity have done so well, at least to not only find a refrag after the early kill from Satex, but also to just position themselves to like refrag effect and not let BallSac Nation do like really good in terms of like multi kills or anything like that. If they did get a kill in that last run, it was a one and done, and that was it. They immediately refragged the players that like died almost immediately, and they also covered runouts from BallSac Nation who wanted to recover the round for that for themselves. So yeah, pretty good round from Unity, and they put themselves in the lead here on Chalet.
Yeah, and in my opinion, I think there's one high benchmark here you want to have. You really want to target a point where, even if you don't win this, if you can make JJ Blatz a T1 player take this game absolutely serious, where he realizes if he doesn't try his hardest, he will lose, that is absolute success. It might not be a game win. It might not be a round win if he does that sort of thing. But this is absolutely what we need to prove as a newer team right now. You may have the veteran players, and you have Vic Vans who's certainly newer to the scene, but if you can make a player like that who has proven success, who's been shown on that big stage that he has to fully try against you, that is absolutely a medal of honor to wear as a new and thriving T2 team.
Yeah, and I think I was talking with Goose in like the Discord DMs, and I was like, we were kind of talking about like what teams could like potentially contest BallSac Nation for the Season 8 title because they look like one of the favorites, considering just how much pure firepower they have and JJ just having so much experience. Unity, Carnico, and SSG ACAD were the three that like we were talking about. Even though I think it'll be quite hard, and Unity are just doing such a good job early on Chalet to not let BallSac Nation run off with the lead as they usually have done in their games in XGS Season 8.
Yeah, I mean, that alone is commendable. So, you know what? It's the start you want to see. It's the first couple of rounds where you can say you did this right. But you certainly have quite a bit more time here. BallSac Nation might be down right now, but they're not out. So they can still pick it up here. They can still pick the pieces up for at least a pretty salvageable half here. They can get a 4-2 if they go flawless. It's not impossible. We know how strong this team can be at points, but I think once again, you're going to have to realize that BallSac Nation might not be playing at their full. They're not playing at full passion right now. They're playing crazy at times, but JJ still finds his pick. The entry on Kiru, you lose a lot of your early utility. A lot of the things that might have gotten you that advantage early on is now gone. And BJL takes even more damage. But what I was trying to say here is, I think that it's very possible that JJ realizes he has to try early here because he might not be playing serious, but Unity absolutely is. They absolutely realize how big a threat he is, and I guarantee right now they're trying as 100% as hard as they can. The comms are perfect because they know this could be a huge win for them and a huge showcase.
Yeah, but that's the one thing that hasn't really gone Unity's way is at least that opening pick. But they've been doing really well at finding some good trades. That is a nade onto Satex on the Solarium stairs. And that's gonna mean that like Unity just have like maybe an easier time taking control of Solarium, but you still have some presence around the top floor that could potentially be a little bit of an issue. But BGL has a lurk over by Dining. This could potentially kind of like throw this round into disarray, especially if like JJ isn't too aware of it. But Rival should have him covered through the vert.
It should be good, but I always say you think it'll be good and things can collapse very quickly. Snake will at least take one. Shots fired onto Vic Vans. He's going to need to go big here, but everywhere he looks, there's something going on. Satex finds one with his thorn. All the bodies fall. Reapers. The player let back in, the main one everyone really knows, but Kool-Aid really did come in there for one map to perform some miracles. But it seems now as the sprays come wide, Unity can try all they want here, but odds are it's just not possible. The 4v1 against team as seasoned as this shouldn't be so. There's always a chance for miracles here, but you need perfection, and that won't be found as King will eventually finish it out. Unity lose one more.
Yeah, and that's one thing that JJ and Co. or so. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I keep getting thrown off by the logo, and also just because it's like this is just throwing me off really bad. It's fine. I was gonna say, BallSac Nation have done a really good job, at least in these opening couple of rounds, just to not like any gaps be exploited neither. Like I literally saw that gap, or not gap, that lurk from BJL over by Tetris or 45 kind of be explored a little bit. And I thought when Rival disappeared away from the vertical up in office that was going to necessarily be covered, but you already had a flank from Snake and Fireplace. That means that that area of the map is covered, and that's going to be another story that like BallSac Nation have to deal with. It's not just about like, I think they are taking this game seriously, but like, you know, you might have some moments where they do something a little bit goofy. It's not just about that, but also they can't just let Unity's frustrating playstyle win against them, which a lot of teams this season have done. They've let a lot of gaps be exploited. They've let players just walk them down. And as long as BallSac Nation just kind of like are aware of that, you know, they could probably have this defensive side kind of figured out, because that's a big thing with Unity, especially on Chalet, as we did see in their game against LFO when they played them on this map.
Yeah, and I will quickly mention, right now, there's either two options. Either Stan, beautiful man he is, has chat muted, or for the first time in maybe half a century, we're not seeing 400 text messages from Unity. Honestly, either way, I'd be a little impressed. I'm nice to see a clearer chat to start with. But Satex still finds BJL. You might have had a bit of a weird start, a little bit wonky, certainly, but you still can confirm those entries. The gun skill in fights like that are so hard to overcome, where those players are refined, they've done this, they've scrimmed these sort of situations, they've played more than you in terms of experience. And I think it's going to continue to be very, very hard to find those entries here, and what is easily one of the most experienced teams you could even dream of playing XGS.
Yeah, Unity, it's another opening pick suffered, and to be fair, they found a way to claw their ways back into rounds, but you can't consistently depend on that ability from individual players to claw you back into that. That's something that they have to really focus on for in the future, is maybe fixing the possibility of just giving over opening picks over to BallSac Nation. It's been JJ who's been getting them. Satex has gotten them a couple of times. I think Hypers has gotten like one as well, opening already opening 5 rounds here. But Unity have gained some really good space. They've gotten piano control. The only thing that kind of makes me a little bit hesitant about this is the fact that it just seems a little bit one-dimensional. It's only from one side of the map. They don't really have any pressure library side. And JJ are fully focused on this whole area of the map right now.
Yeah, and you're gonna have to see the pickups here. We want to, or I'll mention it later. But oh my God, Rival and King.
Yeah,
I just speak about anything different for a second, and BallSac Nation prove exactly why you can't, because they all get the kills, they all find their bodies, and madness ensues with what, 4 kills coming out in 20 seconds. I mean, if that isn't the BallSac way, I don't know what is. Run in, trust your gun skill, and in this case, it works perfectly fine. Flawless round.
Yeah, and I also saw one player who died. I think that was the class of Kiru that like died jumping into the site window. And I think what he wanted to do was like focus on like maybe the push of his, or the pull of his teammates upstairs towards the fluke window, or towards like office and piano side, and then maybe try and push site to see if he could kill like the only site player, because then theoretically if everybody's like focused on office and piano, then there's going to be like at least the library corner player. The library player isn't going to be really that focused on the hatch to focus on the jump in, but he dies, and the push from Unity was already one-dimensional anyways, and BallSac Nation just knew where they were coming from. They still had utility up, they still had good crossfires upstairs prepared, and that just seemed like a very easy shutdown for them, especially once Kira went down and he found nothing on his lurk. I think it was Hat or Big Fans on the glass. Either way, it was somebody on glass. They died. Rounds over from Unity because the push was super one-dimensional anyways.
Yeah, and I mean, looking at the game from a round-round perspective, I think this is probably going to be the most volatile game we will watch, maybe ever, in XGS for quite a bit. I mean, I think that's really a compliment to both teams, and I suppose a little bit of maybe criticism. I don't even know how you'd word it. Very rarely are you going to ever see teams like this where they're so aggressive, but it can work. I think that it feels very weird, obviously, because Vic fans, they're on the right idea. The formula they have has worked against the top teams. They're just going against maybe the worst possible team to go against. It's, you know, it's like trying to start a fire with, you know, 400 water trucks sitting right by. There's just so much that they're used to. There's so much that they know is going to happen at this point. They've likely looked at Vic fans before. They likely know a lot of these players. I mean, it's not impossible to win, but it's a long way up.
I I think this clear. Oh, I was gonna say I think this clear from Unity is gonna be a lot slower. They only have one drone on the board, and only had one player ping. That was Satex on the Thorn. He didn't have anybody else ping. So I feel like this clear on the library side is going to be a little bit slower, but they've managed to kill Satex, who's actually on this library side, and they know that Hypers is in the corner. Or do they?
Oh my god, is he gonna escape? Okay, there's shots fired, but apparently not. I thought they knew where he was. Somehow, King Hypers finds himself the pick with maybe the nerves of steel. Once again, I don't know what JJ speaks in those lobbies, but I have to assume they're treating it like the gospel because this man stayed there for so long. The amount of pressure that was coming at you, the literal Monty next to your face, you still stand. It's impressive work, but now you're gonna see Snake at least find one pick on the hat. Madness still ensues, but this time, with Unity down 1.
Yeah, you could tell just like from the very beginning, like Unity weren't operating with very much intel. They only have one drone going into this round. I literally saw Hat only have one operator ping in his demo scan. So like that just kind of tells me that they're just kind of like a little bit unaware of information. Luckily, at least they're attacking like this site. They've gotten the library control. It's only a 4v3, but some of these positions should probably be like known already to them. But I'm just assuming so, just because like this is a pretty well played site on this map. I don't really know if Unity don't have that information available to them.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it, as much as I did mention earlier, and I feel like it's a little bit of a rude thing to say, but I truly do think that's the issue right now is nerves at some point. I mean, say what you will about the parity-like team at times, but they truly do have the raw skill to win, and that can maybe spook them at times. And as I say this, it seems to curse whenever I go off on a rant about, the team in general. Everyone's just going to drop bodies, and Hypers will find himself a triple mid-flash, because apparently who needs any level of sight, who even needs to think, just run at him, and apparently you'll win your rounds. And then I'll get you the 4-2 half and a flawless couple of rounds there, really, where they just kept the momentum going and going and going. And going into your attacking half, that's a pretty damn good start.
Yeah, and I think another like underrated, like people are gonna talk about like Snake and everybody else in this team, like Rival 2 and Twist when he is playing. But like some of the younger pieces to this team, like Satex and Hypers, are like really good, solid pieces as well. And that was like showcased in that round as well from Hypers on the Solus. I'm more than likely just because of that clear from Unity and where it came from, and also where Hypers was positioned. He was positioned by Library Stairs. And as the Solus, he's probably playing like bar early to like shoot drones, and he's probably then rotating upstairs to then shoot more drones. He kind of just limited Unity's information game throughout that whole entire round, and you could tell it got limited because one, the demo skin only had one operator ping. I've mentioned that a whole hell of a lot of times in that last round. And then also, like, the Monty was super unaware of where anybody was. They didn't fully clear library stairs because they never had anybody push from bottom library stairs from bar. Hat died early, so that's more than likely that was his job, and he just couldn't do it because he's dead. And then like the rest of that round just crumbled because again, information was a big issue for them, and that's something that you got to give credits to Hypers for. He just played the Solus really well, what she's meant to do. And yeah, I mean, that just kind of like won the round for BallSac Nation.
5 seconds to go.
Yeah, I mean, what I'd say is always say, I think when you're looking at this game, I think a loss might look demoralizing and might think, oh, that's bad. Just showing a fight here is, I think, the thing that Unity wants, because it would not surprise me if a lot of these players have realized, you mentioned, they're going to try their hardest. They absolutely will because they want to win this, but they realize this is a hard wall to overcome. This is always going to be that. So you want to be the underdog. You want to say you can win this. I think no matter what, if you're a Unity fan, you have to look at this game as a benchmark of what's to come. If they look strong here, I think your future is very bright. We're at least going to see a lurk here from BallSac Nation, because guess what? You might be on a different side, but the parity still continues, and apparently caught out. Snake will find Hat, but Reapers will find Snake. The trade origami starts off, and no real entry so far, but losing the illusion that regenerative material will be a sting.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of does suck that, like, maybe Snake couldn't get into the library or wherever his destination was. But yeah, he ends up killing, like, the basement lurk, and like you mentioned, the regenerative ability of the Legion. It's gonna hurt Unity in the future, especially when it comes to getting information. In the meantime, BallSac Nation, though, they are attacking from, like, the piano and office side of the map. And they're gonna try and, like, work the top floor. They really haven't cleared a ton of the utility upstairs. such as the shield on the library stairs, but I'm pretty sure that's going to be their next point of subject. So I don't know how they're going to do it without no summons. So they have nades. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have to get inventive. I mentioned before, you're really going to have to think like a very different team. You might want to play traditional here, but I think that's the worst thing you can do. You want to play these weird angles like BAGL is going to do. You want to play these crazy spots because that is how you catch a team that is so used to the traditional play off guard, but Rival at least expects it here. He finds Reapers, but places himself in a very precarious position so low. But BJL sits in the corner, waits for his moment, takes out JJ, continues to keep the team alive, stoke the flames, and hopefully find themselves one more round. But man's still stuck upstairs right now. He's still trying to hold so strong, and at one shot it could go bad, but a trade comes out from below. The use of verticality will keep you in a good position as Satex left in a 1v2.
And BGO did such a good job of holding top 4. You would think he did enough. The Diffuser surrendered upstairs. So the last two players alive here kind of have to play off of each other. And they kind of have a crossfire on Mudroom where Satex is coming from. What?
Huh?
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, all right. We're gonna see everyone go in though, but Satex a little bit of a whiff there. Cleans it up, gets it done. The ping comes out wide, so maybe don't play too aggressive here. They assume he's up top. You'd be severely wrong. Red pings come, but smoke buys time. The bodies run away. Vic Bands has to play it away, but he opts to go aggressive. You would expect him to run away. You would expect him to play passive. Be scared of a team like, you know, the JJ team that is built right now, a BallSac Nation. But instead, he runs forward. He charges at them. I mean, once again, it's a show of nerves. It's a show of strength and respect because, you know, you got to respect yourself here. You got to really trust yourself in these fights because if you don't, either team will gladly take advantage.
Yeah, it's another clutch as well from Vic Bands. Again, another 1vx clutch for him in this series. So he's kind of, even though like it's a 5-5 scoreline for him, he's kind of had like some really good impact rounds for Unity to get them their third round to make this a 1-round gap. And you know, to be fair, he was also playing for the diffuser, so he was running away upstairs to try and like play for his life because the win condition there, at least for Satex, was to get kills. He had to go for kills because getting the diffuse down with the Tashaka on the board and also a second player alive too, that means you're kind of forfeiting vertical. That means that you also maybe have to play against some plant denial. So getting kills was his priority. And as long as he didn't get the diffuser, that was more than enough from Big Bands to actually win that round. So again, another impact round for Big Bands to kind of show how important of a player he is for Unity.
Yeah, I mean, it's yeah, I will say there's only one thing I'm a little sad about. I'm personally a bit of a Reapers fan. I really like what I've seen from him at times. I haven't had a lot of personal talks with the guy, but his game really interests me. I feel like he can be a really fun player at times. So seeing him at 1-7 hurts me a little bit on the inside, but we still have time for a pickup here. Don't leave just yet. The redemption arc is there before, and I've seen it many times in much larger stages. So, you know what? Always keep the hope going if you're on the side of Unity, because I think that's what you have to do. You have to keep the hope up, even if it looks impossible. You have to think, as a team, we can win this no matter what. Are they hard to beat? Yes. Are some of them XT1? Absolutely. But you have to show strength at a point like this.
That's what Unity's gonna need, at least some hope, and also some clutch factors from the individual players. It's not really anybody having like the strongest of performance from Unity, but the scoreline is close for a reason, and that's because they're actually playing like some solid siege against BallSac Nation as well. It's gonna be dining room and kitchen this site. BallSac Nation have a clear objective, and that's to get some form of control on the top floor, but Unity has a clear objective themselves, and that's to protect it for as long as possible. Hat finds a refrag after Reapers dies, and that means, you know, after he gets that refrag, he actually just kills Hypers too.
A little bit of madness inside. I at least saw the Maverick making move of JJ. I'm pretty sure he was trying to make a hole. I'm not entirely sure what, but Hat opts to even disregard any of that. Aim just at the little pixel peek on the window. In this case, he'll find his value. Say below here, so maybe he has to worry, as he'd like to go aggressive, but maybe not the greatest position. A Fenrir makes the smoke look funky. JJ finds BJL. The bodies all fly, but to start off the madness, you stay in that 3v3. You stay at a point where everyone's going to slowly start falling back here, maybe go down the floor, where you're maybe just going to leave someone like Hat or Vic Bands Likely just one of them, though, upstairs as the rest fall down there. Prepare for the plan as is eventually oncoming here as the diffuser comes down. Rival looking to make something happen, and with a shot C4, this looks like a post plant, and one that's going to be very, very hard to reclaim.
Yeah, JJ's going to be making holes on the wall. Rival dies just behind the bomb chassis, but this isn't the really strongest of post plants. Satex does have vert, though, so there is maybe a chance. This Nitro.
Yeah, the shots. Satex continues to find, continues to capitalize, and Hat needs miracles in his favor because you have to play perfect against this, but the long arm might work if you could get it just in time, but it's not enough. BallSac Nation win one there. Certainly closer than they'd enjoy, but they still get it done nonetheless. They're off of a pretty close post plan.
Yeah, and that was also a 1v3 clutch, or either 1v3 or 1v2 clutch as well from Satex. Playing on the vertical after the post plant didn't really look the best from BallSac Nation, considering that it was a 3v2. You had one opportunity there for Unity, and that was to try and take a 1v1 upstairs. But Satex wins that quite simply. And then Unity post that, like, two players are down below. None of these guys are like watching the vert. I think Hat wasn't watching the vert when his teammate was defusing. He also missed the nitro cell, so he didn't even really kill Satex, who was also low in HP, so he didn't really need to be the most accurate with it. It's a slight mistake from Unity in the end. Not really with the 50-50 gunfight upstairs, but just in a 2v1 situation, it didn't really seem like that was the most properly played. In BallSac Nation, they put themselves one round away from being on match point here on Chalet.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be a hard time beating any of these players on BallSac Nation. But I at least commend the work so far Unity's done. They've kept it close. They've kept it to a point where JJ, maybe he'd like to fully, just play casual, play like this doesn't matter. But he's forced to, at minimum, acknowledge that Unity is a true team. They're actually putting up a good fight here. It's still going to be one, I think, to watch, as we've seen the Vic Band clutches before. We've seen what this team can do when their back is against the wall. So never count them out quite yet. You're going to have to see something better. You're going to have to see just that little bit of improvement, and the aggression seems to be the play here. As Kiru goes aggressive with the shotgun, can't quite find the pick. Hypers will take a little bit of damage off of him, but nothing really enough to, I think, change the needle so far.
Yeah, it's probably going to not really change how Kiru plays, because he'll be aggressive no matter what HP he's at. But he's going to be held as well if he tries to rotate through Dining back into Trophy, because they have the Trophy cut off. But this is going to be a direct Solarium take using JJ on the Blackbeard. And he could probably just swing himself in. There's nobody playing on the Trophy stairs currently. I think this would be decent enough space for Unity to get. They just have to be worried about what's below, because BGL's down below location with 2 impacts as a Solus.
And Satex will fund first. The entries continue for the group there. Get the job done. And at least in terms of Satex, he's been doing pretty dang well for himself. So a nice play, but maybe a little bit worse here, actually. I had Snake winning that fight. Honestly, that revolver, I think, is just so powerful. And I actually find it underrated. And I really do think Snake can play it well. But he'll opt to, Vic Band's opt to shape the script in a different direction here. He'll opt to go somewhere better to get them the tie-up pick. As you mentioned before, and it feels like it's been mentioned many times now, the entries might not be going in their favor, but they've continued to find these really impressive ways to claw it back when it looks impossible. But now a bit of a weird play from JJ. He might go a little bit too weird there with the Blackbeard. I think trying to ignore Reapers to his 1-8 KD, but the more you aggress onto one, there's another body lurking. Reapers, Hat, both find their picks. Satex at 12, gonna have to go to 15. He wants to get this round done, and he's going to need perfection from it, but the swings come in. Satex finds one more. Now Reapers, the last one here, really to try to hunt down on the top floor. That Vic Band sitting himself backwards, gets the damage, not quite the pick, as he just has to play this game of dodging between two players' lines of sight. However, Reapers, it falls entirely off here. The dude gets sent flying by a Nomad, as Satex now has to keep himself in the 1v1 here. You win this fight, it's a generational help. But if you don't, things could get so much worse, obviously. You don't want to give Unity that chance. Don't give him that hope, but you do. You give Vic Bands that clutch. He once again handles the 1v1 perfectly. Give Unity just a little bit more chance here. Some light at the end of the tunnel, as they're only one round away from tying this up.
Yeah, and BallSac Nation to Vic Bands is play. BallSac Nation's response to Vic Bands' play over by Library Stairs once Snakes loses his entry was to kind of accelerate forward. But the issue with that was they didn't have really any information. JJ was like caught off guard at least 2 times in the Blackbeard. And the second time he had his back turned to the Azami that was playing in piano. Like, I don't think they knew that an Azami was on a board, but if they did, that's usually where the Azami plays when they are playing upstairs, is in piano, just because you have so many opportunities to stick the cubic barriers anywhere around like the big piano in the middle of the room. You can stick them as well in the bathroom half wall. You can give yourself more cover in piano just because of how, again, much cover there is in there initially, but how many objects you can actually stick the keeper barriers on. Either way, it just didn't really seem like that was the most cleanest of plays from BallSac Nation in the middle of the round or towards the end of it anyways, when they felt like they had to make a play instead of maybe dealing with the flank first and then going for an execute. So yeah, just a little bit sloppy, but you know what, Unity, again, clawback round for them. That was a really good response in response to them getting first pick yet again.
10 seconds remaining.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it feels a little insane to say, but I've already mentally put into myself, like, at this point, Unity's going to lose the pick. They're going to lose it. It feels like the aggression and the gun skill from BallSac Nation is just a wall too high to climb most days. But Satex, maybe the top frag, but now one that's severely wounded, as my caster curse words continue to reign supreme. As apparently all I have to do is speak at the option I don't want, and the immediately opposite thing happens. So fun thing, but hey, damage on the Satex is a beautiful start here, getting just a little bit more easy of a fight on that top frag as he continues to go aggressive. He's been that go-getter for the team, so getting him a little bit lower is certainly going to help.
This is a really weird like setup. No, it's not. They do have a mezzanine player. They also have a library stairs player. For some reason, it looked like the top floor was completely empty, and I think it's mainly because when BallSac Nation and Unity have played on the defense, they've had somebody in that library corner. Now they've completely smoked off the mezzanine player, and it looked like they wanted to jump in and make a play, maybe either towards site or directly into library, but nothing has manifested.
And as you say that, Reaper's a little too gung-ho about this. I mean, it is still JJ's team. You might have won a round, but you have certainly not won the game, so that'll cost the first pick as it continues to fall in the direction Unity does not wish. But I also say this in hindsight, because the reality is they're probably going to find a way to claw it back as previous. They've really been able to keep those up here, where they just continue to find those ways to get the trade, play irregular, and just keep finding ways back into the round as Kiru does the exact same once more. At this point, it is prophecy. You might lose the first pick, but Unity is not out.
Yeah, BallSac Nation, though, they do still have the top 4 in their control. Hypers has gotten the kill. They do have to be aware of these flanks, which they have their backs turned to. Actually, no! Satex had his back. He didn't even have his back turned to him. He was more than ready for that, and now it's only BGL upstairs.
Need a fairy godmother or a genie to come along here, because this is a hard fight to win, but the aggressive swings could do it. If you play it right, you got to get every single shot is perfection, because everyone is watching you. The stage is as bright as can be, and Snake will get the match point there. He will finally get a regulation point working for BallSac Nation as they can get themselves to the preferred point where you can sit here, you have that space now, and you're guaranteed just a chance. You're guaranteed that regulation win if you can get it done here. It's always nice to have. It's nice to have when you see that on the screen. It's your match point. This game is now in your favor. It's in your control.
Yeah, and Unity have to kind of like keep doing what they've been doing, which is clawing back from behind. Whether it's from like in the round where they lose the opening pick and they find these clawback kills, or whether it's still trying to keep up pace here with BallSac Nation, because I mean, to be fair, like the rounds have been like super close. I don't really feel like this deserves to be a regulation win for BallSac Nation, and that's not to say that BallSac Nation have not been playing good. I think they've been playing good. I think Unity have also been playing good, and they've like found themselves back into rounds where they lose the advantage first so often, and it's like, yeah, I don't know. I think it'll be a shame if this didn't go to OT in a sense. I'd be more than ready for it. But I want to see if Unity are ready for it, because this is match point for BallSac Nation. This could potentially be the last round that Unity play in today.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a great prospect. It never is one when it feels like that. You obviously want to get as far as you can. You want to show out that there's a real chance you get sent away here in regulation. And what has been a good fight, I don't think anyone would discredit what you've done. you put at minimum BallSac Nation a little worried. They couldn't play casual. They couldn't 7-1 you. They had to take you seriously for quite a few rounds here where they couldn't afford to make mistakes. They couldn't afford to be as lax as they wish. They really had to take you seriously. And at the end of the day, there's a huge step in the right direction. And Snake continues to find the gaps. The aggression can sometimes go unchecked, but Reaper's on the behind. He'll find himself just a little bit closer to even, taking it right back. His hype is now on the body. He's now in the area. As it seems like that last round play is for a rush here. All the madness ensued. But still, it seems that no one's going to be able to find Blastful here, as he can get that plant down, likely without any checks.
Yeah, and it sucks for Reapers because he hasn't really had the best of games, and even then, he didn't necessarily do anything wrong in this round. He was just trying to get info on site. BGL's still on top floor. Diffuser hasn't gone down, so there is still hope for Unity. Hat from Vert has completely denied BallSac Nation from getting that plant down, and now they have to find another way in.
This is where it can get scary, but action is necessary here. If you are the group in a smart play from Hypers, quick little thinking on the fly, you might not be able to stop the verticality entirely, but maybe make it harder to use. But a Warden in this case would be literally the worst possible thing. So you're instead going to keep tapping them away. Is now you might not have them both dead, but they're about as close as they can possibly get to this point. Or you really do have to have absolute perfection in BallSac Nation because they are literally 4 HP. They breathe air wrong and they die. Or in this case, if they play just passive enough, find themselves on the right end of a round here, find themselves one away from an overtime and a chance at winning. One pick goes, the DMR flies, but not quite done yet. BGL continues to live. I think despite a lot of people expecting that, the DMR isn't super crazy, and with a BJL finish, Unity stay alive, take it to 12. All ends here. Or begins anew.
I think BallSac Nation maybe thought that round was won when they got like the 2 opening picks. One was the site anchor, which is usually the only site player, and they killed the person that was rotating down Solarium stairs to retake space into site. And they thought, okay, job's finished, but like that's why you see the win condition be described for dining in kitchen as like the vertical. And that time, Unity did something pretty smart. You know, even though there was a Capital, they really only used the Capital when it was a 2v2, but still they had a Warden upstairs to really counter the play from the Capital to try and get a smoke plant down by sticking the bolts onto the ceiling. There were also multiple times that BallSac Nation just kept trying to get the plant down, but Unity still had Vert against them. And it was only when it was a 2v2, both players alive for BallSac Nation were basically withered down to like 1 HP that they realized, oh, we need to go upstairs and actually contest the Vert. Well, yes. So Unity just kind of like destroyed them in that sense. Yeah, that was a really nice round from Unity. They played well into their win conditions, and they make this closer to potentially going into OT.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is where it gets the craziest is if you win here, at minimum, you have put yourself on the map, I think, for a lot of people. You don't even been playing good. No one is going to deny that. But if you take a team like JJ, when they were actively trying for a good chunk of this, you're officially showing absolutely we are a dominant T2 team. And not even dominant, we are scary to anyone. And they get scarier with Hat going aggressive. The fights continue to fall, and they continue to fall in their direction as the fate is finally broken and entry falls for Unity's direction. Team's fate has finally smiled upon them to get that first one.
Yeah, Hat's been having a good game as well. 11-9 currently. He's been somebody who's been keeping pace frag-wise as well with the JJ and Co players. He's also gotten the opening pick here, like you mentioned. And that's on to Rival as the Habana, the only other form of hard breach other than Hypers. Okay, now he's dead. So now you have no hard breach. That means that you cannot open up office wall if it's fully reinforced, and it's not. But that means you can't really force your way in here unless you use these breaching rounds from Satex.
I mean, you're right there now. All you need is just a little bit more, and you can finally get yourself to the dreaded overtime for JJ's team. But more importantly, a huge chance at a fight here. JJ has to really worry now. The nade goes wide, but instead, pure aim does it. Who even needs to use, any level of utility when you have a really good AR and a shield next to you? Scary point now. With just a minute 22 remaining, you might have the advantage taken right back away. Your aggression is not warranted. And it seems when you have the numbers, they might have fallen to an even game simply because of too much aggression, too much trust in yourself, too much trying to get that advantage into more might have costed you what you so dearly had.
Oh, and I don't think BallSac Nation really have an idea that BJL's down below with the Solus that's not been scanned by Snake. He's not even going down below to contest it, so they have no idea. This could be it for Unity.
Or a play from Hat. He finds one, looking for the second. Not quite taken, but at minimum, you have to worry about it. But the issue is you have to take so many angles. They're all coming at different points. Hat will finally go down after a stellar performance in the regulation. Deimos' go wide, targeting Hiru. Now he's put on the back burner, but BJL with a chance to lurk up. They don't even seem to know he's there. You need the shot, and you hit it perfectly. Now left in a 1v1 with the Deimos. Perfection is necessary, because if not, you will lose. You will go home in regulation with both of them low now. Neck and neck, just trying to get that edge over the other with time not in your favor either. But if you swing too aggressive, it'll cost you the game. You continue to play this game of cat and mouse. You don't have time for the Deimos track. You have to be aggressive. Trust yourself. It's all about the plays here. It's all about what it matters most. And BallSac Nation continues to reign supreme. You got so close, but it won't be enough. They hang in and get one more.
Yeah, that just feels like such a
Sad ending.
Sad and really lame ending to that round. That could have potentially been overtime for Unity, and it was like 8 seconds left. You know, it kind of looks like a dumb play from Kiru, and I don't really think it's like totally dumb. I think he maybe could have played it better, but realistically, with what angles were opened up around like the Solarium wall and also around bathroom, he can't really make a play to maybe go over the stairs into Trophy, because that would have been caught by Snake. He could have easily died. He was also like really low on HP, so if he jumps over the railings and Snake hits him once with that Magnum, he's probably gonna just one shot. His only other option was maybe to just try and swing, because Snake was low too. That's just very sad. You know, Unity were just so close. They were so close to potentially beating JJ and Co, but JJ and Co, they continue to go undefeated in Season 8 of XGS.
Yeah, but I mentioned this before and I'll say it again, is this was a showing of what is to come for Unity. You might not have won here, and that'll hurt. The heartbreaker is 7-5. You were so close to an overtime, and you'll feel it at the end of the day. When you go to the VOD review, you realize you could have been there with just a couple of fixes and mistakes. But I think more importantly, this shows that you are arguably one of the best teams. Like, this is the greatest showing you could have had as a T2 team without winning. You took it to the max regulation. You made it a 1v1 away, one different shotgun shot away from being your win. Mm-hmm. You couldn't have showed better to us. You couldn't have shown better to the community. You were absolutely that team. And we'll be back in just a little bit with your next match. For now, take a little break.